Hey everyone, and welcome back to SkillCapped's Valorant Weekly News Roundup. In this series, we compile all the top news from the Valorant community all in one video so that you can stay up to date with everything Valorant. My name's Modix, and today we have a ton of news to go over. This includes the next features coming to Valorant, the newest Ask Valorant article, and much more. But before we get into that, we're excited to announce our brand new hyper improvement platform specifically designed to help you improve fast. At SkillCapped.com, you'll finally learn how to level up your aim, different techniques to win gunfights, and so much more. We have professional courses on every single agent, map, and mechanic in Valorant. This is backed by the top pros, players, and coaches to make sure you're getting the most up-to-date and accurate info possible. In fact, we're so confident that you'll improve using our system that we offer a rank improvement guarantee. Check it out yourself in the link below. Simply put in what rank you're currently stuck at and find out what rank you're guaranteed by using our system. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your true potential and get the rank you've always wanted at SkillCapped.com. Link in the description below. Starting us off for today's news roundup, we have the Ask Valorant number 8 article. If you didn't already know, every other week the Valorant devs release an article answering all of your questions. The first question in this week's article was, are there any updates regarding a left-hand view model? And here's what the developers had to say. We know that this is something a lot of players have been asking for, and we've been doing some exploration into this. We're currently in the process of validating how this would work from not just the technical side, but from a competitive and artistic front as well. While this may seem like a small technical challenge, we want to make sure that this is done right for the players. To do this, we need to validate a couple of different things. The first thing we want to consider is how we maintain the art fidelity of our awesome weapon skins, character models, and abilities. We don't frequently get to see different camera views of our first-person weapons and view arms, so we'll need to make sure our art still holds up when we switch hands for players. We'll need to make sure that abilities still originate from the same place and that our hot fire still looks like, well, hot fire. The second aspect we need to consider is how this might impact the competitive integrity of the game. We want to ensure that there are no advantages or disadvantages to playing with a left-handed view model and that we maintain a fair competitive playing field. We want to make sure that left-hand view isn't the new meta or that players with this preference are nerfed. While this is something on our radar, we still need to ensure that we meet the criteria mentioned above, and to do so, we'll need to put these changes through rigorous competitive and artistic testing. With all that in mind, we unfortunately don't have a date we can share for when we think this will be available to players. We should really be able to understand why they can't just give us a date yet, because they make it sound like there are a ton of criteria that must be met before the feature gets added. However, if I had to guess, this feature would probably get added with episode 2. That is just a guess though, so don't take it as a hard set date. Moving on, our next question is, are you open to updating existing skins like adding effects for Spline? I think the community has been really disappointed recently because none of the past few skins have had animations on them, so even though they're priced like animated skins, they don't do anything. Here's what the devs commented on this topic. We're open to it. We've stated before that we're potentially open to adding variants to melees, so it's not out of the question for us to update an existing skin line. It all comes down to how much players want it and how much work it is, and what things we don't make as a result, weighing the trade-offs. We've done little stealth updates that are pretty fast, like changing the gun buddy mount colors on the agent skins. But going back to add effects to a skin line like Spline is definitely not fast or easy. So as of right now, we don't have plans to add feature-based upgrades like VFX, new animations, or audio to existing skins. Before we take on something like this, we want to make sure we're making changes players actually want and that what we're doing is sustainable. That requires more research and testing, which takes time and resources to complete. So even if we did decide to pursue this, players probably wouldn't see it for a while. Going back to work on something we've already released means that we aren't working on the next awesome thing that you're all waiting for. This is a trade-off we don't take lightly because ultimately we want to prioritize the content you all want most. Now that might not have been the answer a lot of you wanted, but hopefully you can understand where the devs are coming from. If anything, we can just expect more animations and effects to the future weapon skins. The next question in this Ask Valorant article is actually something that we touched on in one of our last weekly news roundups. It's asking about the map rotation changes that came in patch 1.08. If you missed those, here's what Ziegler tweeted out talking about it. The tweet reads, "For everyone having a rough night where you get the same map too many times in a row, we're working on a solution to make the map selector less likely to RNG you into the same map over and over." Here's the question that the community asked this week. Will the map rotation changes in patch 1.08 result in longer queue times? And then here's what the devs had to say. These changes will not impact queue times. That's the main reason we didn't hard restrict players from getting the same map multiple times in a row, but instead made it so we significantly reduce the chance of that occurrence. This way, we maintain a little bit of flexibility to keep queue times popping at the same pace. I personally am so happy with this answer because that was one of my fears going into the changes. At the higher ranks, queue times are already pretty long and it would not be a good idea to make them even longer. Now we have one last question to go, and that is, this is probably frustrating to hear, but it feels like my experience with Valorant on a game-to-game basis is inconsistent. Like sometimes I'll have problems landing basic shots, but other times everything will feel buttery smooth. I'm not trying to make excuses for my own performance, but something just doesn't always feel right. Do you feel this or see it? Are you investigating? Now I'm pretty sure we all feel like this at times, but here's what the devs answered. We're not dodging this, but understanding what's going on has been a real hoot. I'll also say it's not just you. We're constantly pulse checking where players are at on the reliability and consistency of combat through surveys, gameplay analytics, and yes, social media. Hi Reddit. Over the past couple months, we noticed some less than inspiring trends on perceptions of shooting reliability, namely declining positive sentiment around my bullets reliably hit targets when I expect them to. So that prompted us to dig deeper. As I bring up what some players are saying, keep in mind there is a team on Valorant that is chasing down issues with hit registration and clarity, and they've shipped changes throughout Valorant's existence so far. But for things like Valorant feels different game to game, it can be hard to nail down exactly what that means. For these types of situations, we like to sit down with players, in this case ranging from gold to immortal and up, to hear in their own words what's going on. In our conversations, these players said broadly that shooting felt reliable and consistent the vast majority of the time. However, there was also clear room for improvement. They highlighted these opportunities for improving reliability in combat, increasing hitbox clarity, improving readability and predictability of states of movement and accuracy, and minimizing the difference in gameplay feel across different ping conditions. Those sound like good spaces to investigate, so we are. We're now in the process of digging into each one of these while also trying to build a more holistic picture of gameplay reliability, one that blends player sentiment, gameplay analytics, and a deep technical analysis of our underlying systems. Ensuring the game respects you and your opponent's skill is critical to delivering on the promise of Valorant, and we won't be setting this to the side anytime soon. Keep the feedback coming and we'll keep on digging. Well, that's going to do it for the Ask Valorant news article, but before we move on, be sure to comment any questions that you have for the Valorant devs in the comments of this video because you never know who might see them. Now for this next portion of the weekly news roundup, we need to talk about Valorant First Strike, the next major step in Valorant esports. On September 23rd, the Valorant devs released an article titled Announcing Valorant First Strike. Let's go ahead and take a look at what it says. Today, we are thrilled to announce the first major Valorant esports tournament, First Strike. This first event will crown the first regional champions for the game, allowing players and teams to showcase their greatness through merit-based qualifiers that will culminate in multiple regional finals in December. Valorant is a deeply competitive title, one for which esports is a critical extension of the experience we want to provide to players. First Strike will be the first tournament produced by Riot Games, and an important foundational step to establishing regional legacy. As we continue to plan ahead for the future, our approach will continue to be heavily driven by the core principles shared earlier this year. For those who are aspiring to compete in First Strike, start building and practicing with your rosters now. Regional qualifiers will begin in the second half of October, and we'll be releasing additional details about rules, policies, and how to register in the next few weeks. The event will conclude with multiple regional finals that will occur from December 3rd to the 6th. Players 16 and above who have earned a rank of Immortal 1 will generally be eligible to compete in the qualifiers, but we advise to check the full rules and policy once they are released. First Strike will offer multiple regional finals taking place across North America, Europe, CIS, Turkey, Asia, Oceania, Brazil, and the Middle East. Since the launch, we've been busy listening to your expectations and hopes for the future of Valorant esports. Both through the Ignition series and hundreds of smaller tournaments, we received valuable insight from tournament operators and fans that we have incorporated into our plans for First Strike. Competitive integrity remains our #1 priority. During the past 6 months, we've collaborated closely with the Valorant anti-cheat team to identify, investigate, and respond to any suspicious behavior and continue to do so both during the qualifiers and the finals. We've also evaluated which formats, match cadence, and scheduling best complement Valorant and enhance the fan experience. Finally, we've prioritized many of the observer features you requested, with several having shipped already and several more on the way. Your support and enthusiasm has helped turn Valorant into today's fastest growing esport, and your feedback remains one of the most valuable resources of improving esports. We look forward to sharing First Strike with you and discovering which teams will become the first champions of their region. And remember, if you want to improve, win more gunfights, and get the rank you've always wanted, then check out SkillCapped.com, link in the description below. I don't know about you all, but I am so hyped for this tournament, and if you want to stay up to date with all of this news, then make sure you have those notifications on, because we will be updating you as soon as new news is given to us. Well, that's going to go ahead and wrap up this week's news roundup. Thanks so much for watching all the way through this video. This is Modix signing off, and I will see you all in the next one.